What if everything you learned about motivation was only half the story? Does the psychology you're learning actually apply cross-culturally? Dr. Yuto Yasuda is here to tackle the cultural blind spots in sports psychology research, and his findings may surprise you. Professionally Psyched is the podcast that brings you cutting-edge psychology research and real-world insights from our psych community of clinicians, researchers, and educators alike. We're here to explore how psychology shapes our everyday lives and impacts the world around us. Hi everyone, and welcome to Professionally Psyched. I'm Dr. Alison Sheaves, lecturer in the Psychology Department at James Cook University. And before we get started, we would like to acknowledge the custodians of the land in which we record. And for me today, that's the Bindal and Woolgoorookabar peoples. And I pay my respects to elders past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and cultures from wherever you may be tuning in from across the country. We are back with another episode of Professionally Psyched. Today, we join our host, Anushree Pandey, third-year psychology student, as she chats with Dr. Yuto Yasuda, lecturer in the Psychology Department at James Cook University, Singapore, as he breaks down why Japanese athletes thrive on negative feedback, while Canadian players need motivation first, how to find your research purpose, and why it's okay to eliminate career options as you figure out what you want to pursue. So grab your headphones and get ready to get professionally psyched about how culture influences our minds and why diverse perspectives matter in research. Enjoy.
So hi everyone, I'm Anushree, a third-year psychology student at James Cook University, Townsville, and I'm here joined by Professor Yuto from Singapore. Let's start by getting to know you a little bit.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Yuto Yasuda. I would say my background is a little bit multicultural. I was born and raised in Japan, and I was in Japan till I was a university student, but I went to Canada for an exchange program for 1 year, and then I came back to Japan, graduated from Japanese university. Then I stayed in the UK a little bit, came back to Japan, and then I went to grad school in Canada, getting my master's and a PhD there. And after the completion of my PhD, I went back to Japan and worked for 1 year. Then I came to Singapore this year. So this is my first year here.
Thank you for your introduction. It's really nice to have you here. So your interest in culture, did it stem from you going to Canada?
Yeah, it's the first time that I touched on cultural psychology was when I was an exchange student. So yeah, I went to Canada for exchange student program, and then there was a very prominent Japanese professor whose research is about cultural psychology. And
Yeah.
he was actually seeking for the person who can understand Japanese and English for his data analysis.
Yeah.
So I joined in his lab meeting and I helped his research and his graduate students' research. And I thought like, oh, this would be an interesting topic to investigate. So that was actually my first time that I thought that cultural psych is very interesting.
With sports psychology, did you used to play any sports? Is that what got you interested, or is there another experience?
Yeah, so till when I was a high school student, I competitively played football, soccer.
Yeah.
And then after that, I started coaching football when I was a university student. And I got a coaching license in Japan as well. And I coached football in Japan. Then when I went to Canada, I also started coaching football.
Yeah.
So that's why, I'm now interested in sports psych and cultural psych because my experience was totally different in coaching in Japan and Canada.
How was it different? Is there any such examples that you could give us?
Yeah, so my first impression was that if I keep coaching in Japanese way, I thought I would be fired in 1 month.
Yeah.
So the reason why is because, for example, so let's say the team lost a game, and
Yeah.
then Japanese coach would always say, oh, this is what we need to work on. This
Mm.
is the reason why we lost the game or something like that. It's pretty much
Yeah.
like a negative feedback, right?
Yeah.
But in Canada, if you do that, their self-esteem will be decreased a lot. So that's why it's not good coach or good coaching, I would say. So that's why, I realized that the definition of good coach is totally different between Japan and Canada. So
Mm.
it was all, so I felt like it's very interesting to dig in as well for research.
So, when you first started your journey into psychology, did you start with sports psychology? Was that your first interest, or did you come in with another interest and it later turned into sports and culture?
Yeah, so I would say my bachelor's is psychology. So I learned kind of general psychology because I didn't know what kind of psychology I'm interested in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, then, like I said, I was coaching football in Japan.
Mm.
And then, so I wanted to merge my interests. I'm interested
Yeah.
in football coaching and psychology. So that's
Yeah.
why my master's is actually sports psych, I mean, in the kinesiology, not psychology. So yeah, if I answer your question, I would say my interest comes later
Mm.
after completing my bachelor's. And then I figure out what kind of psychology I'm interested
Yeah.
in, then I chose kinesiology department for my
Mm.
master's.
Previously, you mentioned in Japan, negative feedback is huge when it comes to coaching, but that's not the case in Canada. So, is there anything other than feedback that you think impacts the performance of the players?
In general, it's about tendency. Obviously, we have individual differences, but in general, I feel like a Japanese athletes are seeking correction. So
Yeah.
that's why they are more resilient against negative feedback, I think, because negative feedback is very important to enhance performance, right? But
Yeah.
like in Canada, I think what they are seeking for is more like motivation because positive feedback motivates you a lot, right? So,
Yeah.
and then I think correction goes next, I think. So it's the other
Yeah.
way in Japan, like correction first and
Yeah.
then motivation next. But like in Canada, I feel like motivation first and correction next. So I think that creates that kind of cultural variations regarding the feedback.
You know how there's a thing about growth mindset and fixed mindset, and everyone's encouraged to overcome their fixed mindset. Do you think this shifting from fixed to growth needs to be culturally tailored as well?
Yeah, it's kind of controversial. So some people say that East Asians
Yeah.
have growth mindset, and then Canadian tend to have a fixed mindset. But
Yeah.
some articles say the other way around. I think we are not reaching to the conclusion right now
Yeah.
regarding the cultural variation in mindset. But what I can say here, I would say, is that some article even now say that there is some benefit in fixed mindset. For example, by having a fixed mindset, you may be able to find your strength, right?
Yeah.
So it's good to make a lot of effort to overcome your weaknesses. So that's I would say like one of the growth mindset's characteristics. But sometimes rather than allocating a lot of effort to improve your weaknesses, it's better to show your strength, right? By having a fixed mindset, it would be easy to find your strength because
Yeah.
you think that the ability is fixed. And if you think that you are good at something, that would be your strength. So yeah, so I feel like over the decades, we thought that growth mindset is very good and we can get a lot of benefit. But now it's like, I would say kind of controversial. It depends on the situation, depending on the context. So now some articles started to say that there are some benefits in fixed mindset. So yeah, that would be what I can say for now. But I'm interested in the conditions which
Yeah.
differentiate the benefit and the cost of growth mindset and a fixed mindset.
I think this would be an exciting future research topics.
Yeah, I think that would be a very exciting questions right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
You said previously that people in Canada, they are looking for encouragement first and motivation first before negative feedback or something that they need to improve on. Do you think these differences are based on like collectivist and individualistic cultures and how they view what success is and what failure is?
Right. That's actually a good point. So we call it interdependent culture and
Yeah,
independent culture. And in interdependent culture like Japan, Korea, China, we define ourselves with the relationship with others, right?
yeah,
So the social role is emphasized, right? So that's why to achieve your social role, you need to correct your performance for sure to achieve social role. So that's why we are more, we more focus on kind of negative feedback rather than positive feedback,
yeah,
so that we can achieve
yeah,
social roles. But in Canada or in the US, they have independent culture.
mm,
So they define themselves separate from others. So
yeah,
that's why they need to rely on themselves, right?
yeah,
In a sense, so they need to rely on themselves. So that's why, like I said, self-esteem is very important to believe
yeah,
in themselves. So
yeah,
that's why, they are more seeking for positive feedback so that they can maintain or boost self-esteem.
yeah,
So yeah, a lot of research say that like you said, cultural variation in we call it the self construal interdependence and independence. So because of the cultural variation in self construal, we I would say we have cultural variation in motivation
mhm.
or the preference of feedback as well.
I know lots of my peers are scared of research subjects, like the stat subjects, because they think it's complicated and like confusing and like they find it difficult. So that after that, they decide that they don't like research, but there's more to research than just stats and SPSS. So, what advice would you give to students who are interested in research but are like scared of the actual mathematical or like the data analysis bit of research?
I think it's very important to remind yourself of the purpose of learning stats if you're not good at math, I think, because it's kind of difficult to learn something without purposes. For example, if you can link the statistical methodology to your research question, I think that would be very useful to motivate yourself. In psychology, statistics is a process, not the purpose, right? Because we are not statistician.
Yeah,
So we need to know, or we need to know stats to achieve something or to solve our research questions. So
yeah,
I think to remind always remind yourself of the purpose or research question would be very important to keep your
mhm.
motivation and then learn statistics.
It probably takes a lot of motivation and drive to keep going and doing research because sometimes you might not find what you're hoping to find. So, how do you keep yourself going and keep yourself motivated?
Yeah, so like I said, I would say I always remind myself of the purpose of my research because cultural aspects in sports psychology has gained less attention from scholars. So, for example, like a recent publication in sports psychology mentioned that I believe more than 75% of the participants in the
Yeah.
research come from Western
Yeah.
countries. So I would say the results are kind of, biased toward
Yeah.
Western population. But still, like I would say East Asian researchers in sports psychology also utilize theories and models which are created in Western countries.
Yeah.
So I feel like, that's why I would say my research is important because of that.
Yeah.
Probably we for sure we have like psychological universalities, which means that we should have similarity across cultures, but
Yeah.
we should have also cultural variations.
Yeah.
And till now, psychological similarity has gained a lot of attention, but I feel like,
Mm.
now in the globalized world here, in that sense, cultural psychology or my research in sports psychology is very important. So I always
Yeah.
keep that in mind, and that purpose or that the value of my research always drives me to conduct research. So I think it is very important to remind yourself of the purpose of your research or the
Yeah.
reasons why you conduct research.
Thank you for sharing that. Do you have any advice or anything to say to students who might be interested in sports psychology or doing research in this field?
So I would say, like I said, I think it would be very important to experience,
Yeah.
as well as knowing something on the internet. Because how I generate my research questions always it is always from my first-hand experiences. Like I said, I was born and raised in Japan. I went to Canada and then coached football in both cultures, and I realized that even though they play the same sport, uh, the meaning of sports or the value of sports are totally different across
Yeah.
cultures. So that kind of experience drove me to conduct research, and actually I found that the cultural variations. So I think it is very important to experience, take action first, and first, yeah, see how you felt based on the experiences.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you touched on research and you realized that research is not your type or your taste, it's totally
Yeah.
fine because you now realize that you succeed in deleting one option to
Yeah.
find the appropriate career, right? So yeah, I think first you might want to experience first and then see how you feel, and after that you may want to take another action. So that would be um, my advice
Yeah.
regarding probably research or psychology students.
Yeah. Eliminating options is also a good way to find out what you actually want.
That's
Even
right.
if you
That's right.
don't know what you want, if you know what you don't want, it
Yeah.
gets easier.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Thank you
All
so
good.
much for sharing about your research and your experience for all the new psychology students and everyone in the field to listen to. I'm sure after listening to this, they have an insight about sports psychology and how culture plays a part in psychology and sports specifically. It was very nice to get to know what you do and how important it is. Thank you
Thank
very much.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Professionally Psyched. This podcast would not be possible without the ongoing support of our psych community. If you would like to show your support, or if you want us to cover anything on the podcast, reach out via our emails, and don't forget, You can listen to full episodes on Spotify.